In fact, one of my favorites. Do all of you know the tradition of carving a pumpkin with a face called a jack-o'-lantern? Of course, of course. Let me tell you the story of how that tradition came to be. You see, there really was, at one time, a man named Jack. And Jack was what they call a highwayman. Now, I'm sure all of you know, but when I tell this story to little children, I have to explain that a highwayman is a sort of thief that waits by the side of the road, and when travelers come by, he will leap out with his guns and his sword, and he will rob them at gunpoint. Exactly. Good sir. Well, that's what Jack was. He was a highwayman. And he was very, very wicked. He would rob people without mercy, and sometimes he would be quite violent. And time was, as he neared the end of his life, that the devil came. And the devil came to him and said, I am here to collect you. Now, Jack, although he was very wicked, was also very clever. And he said to the devil, well, I suppose you can take me, but it would be a shame for you to lose all of my gold. The devil is very greedy, as you know. And he said, well, you won't need gold where you're going, Jack. Where is it? Jack said, you see this tree? I've hidden it up inside. The devil, quick as a wind, climbed up the trunk into the branches, and as soon as he went up, Jack took out his knife and he cut a symbol on the trunk of the tree that the devil cannot abide. So he could not come back down. And he stood on top of the tree and screeched and howled, and Jack just laughed and he said, stay there as long as you like, for all I care. You can't touch me now, devil. And he went off on his way. Well, many, many years went by and Jack became no less wicked. And at last he had reached the very end of his life, and he was so old and tired that he was quite ready to go. So the first place he went was up to heaven's pearly gates. He went up to see St. Peter with his great book, and he looked down at Jack and shook his gray head and said, I'm sorry, you are much too wicked to enter here. And Jack shrugged and said, well, I figured as much, but man has to try, doesn't he? Suppose I'm off to the other place. So he went down, down deep into the earth, where it is hot and it smells of sulfur. And he went up the black cindery path to hell. And when he got to the front gates of hell, there was the devil himself, and the devil said, You! I was stuck in that tree for 10 years until the bark grew back. 10 years, you trickery man. If you think you're getting in here, you've another thing coming. You can just go on and walk the earth for all I care. You're never getting in here. So what was Jack to do? Poor wandering spirit, he walked the earth. He walked the earth, he could not speak to anyone. He could not touch anyone or anything. No one knew him. No one could see him. He grew so lonely. And as he walked the earth, he watched the people that he did not watch when he was alive. He looked in their windows. He watched them in the streets. And he saw the pleasures that they got from goodness that he had not known. He saw the pleasures of the family. He saw the pleasures of their children. He saw the pleasures of doing good for one another. And finally, at last, after a long, wicked life and a long, lonely wandering, he began to feel remorse and wished he could have been a better man. And as he walked, an angel looked down and felt pity for him. And she came down and she said, Jack, at last you are learning what you should have learned in life. Well, perhaps there is hope for you. Perhaps if you wander long enough, things will do better for you. And she reached up into the sky and brought down a magical light, and she gave it to him. She said, let this be a light for you to guide you in your wandering. And then she reached down and picked up a pumpkin and scooped it out and put the light inside so he could carry it as a lantern. But that is what Jack-o'-lantern means, Lantern of Jack. And that is why on Halloween, when the walls between the spirit world and our world are the thinnest and the easiest to pass through, we put the Jack's lantern in our windows to let him know that we are thinking of him, and we hope he finds what he is looking for. And that is the story of the jack-o'-lantern, and I hope that you've enjoyed it.